Hello and welcome to another episode of the Viral Culture Podcast. I'm your host, Dakarai Chabaya, and today I'm with Pratik Kotari, right?
Yep,
Kotari?
that's right.
Yeah, yeah. So Pratik and I, we've met like a couple times on soccer Saturdays when we used to go out and to Mizzou and play, kind of just pick up game of soccer and all that stuff. But we didn't really get to know each other like past that point. We just play and kind of like go. So this is also an opportunity for me to get to know him. I realized he was foreign, but I don't know where he's from. So, we're going to actually learn about that all right now. Let's start from there. Like, where are you from?
I have lived in a bunch of different cities, but I'm originally in India. Mm-hmm. I was born outside Mumbai, kind of outskirts of it, in a small town called Ambernath.
Wait, one more time?
Ambernath.
Ambernath.
It means, actually, I think what it means is like cloud guard, if I translate it exactly as it is.
Cloud car?
God.
Oh, cloud god. Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Oh, nice.
It doesn't really have a decent meaning now that I think of it.
I mean,
anyway. No, after that, I grew up there for until I was about 10, and then we moved closer to Mumbai, and then I kind of grew up there until I was 16. Then lived in northern India where I went to college. Actually, it was like at the bottom of Himalayas. It's kind of nice and neat.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, and lived there for 4 years, then worked in the southern India for a while, then again worked in Mumbai, and then moved to US.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So, like, let's put a timeline on that a little bit. So, when did you were in college when? Like, when you said you did college in Mumbai, right?
No. So, yeah, I moved out of Mumbai when I was about 16.
So, like, what year was it? I'm trying to just kind of put it...
2007. Oh, I was 17. Never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about 17. That's when I moved out of Mumbai, went to college in 2007. In 2011, I graduated. Went to southern India, worked there for about 3 months, literally, then found another job in Mumbai. And worked there for about a year. And in 2012, I moved to Austin, Texas. And
Oh, nice, dude. I want to move there, actually. Like, I've been applying for jobs there because I've heard, like, it's really nice out there, so...
I love Austin, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, Austin and Columbia, I would imagine, like, the difference in things to do and, like, just... It's a bigger city and stuff like that, so... I hear it's, like, a developing... It's for, like, young... If you're, like, a young professional, like, that's the place to go, kind of thing.
Certainly, yep.
Yeah, where did you go to college, like, down there?
Yes.
Were you working, or did you go to college there?
In Austin?
Yeah.
No, I moved to US to do my master's, as most of us who move here as international students. So I did my master's at UT Austin, University of Texas, for 1 year. That's why I was in Austin. After that, I moved to Houston, lived there for 1 year, and then now I'm in Columbia. So...
Well, yeah. So, okay, what were you studying then? Like, what have you been studying in that whole time?
So it is kind of a weird thing. My undergraduate, which was in India, was in biotechnology.
Oh.
But I'm scared of blood and needles.
Yep.
So I don't know how I got through all of those labs. Mostly trying to get people's health, but
Yeah, hey, you gotta do what you gotta do.
yeah. But no, after that, I moved into finance. My first job was in finance, and second as well. So I was studying masters in finance at UT Austin. So.
And now you're in Columbia. You just completed your PhD, right?
Oh no, I'm in my 5th year, so I'm on track to finish it this May. Yep.
And that's also in finance?
Yep.
PhD in finance, man. That's crazy.
That's how usually those conversations kind of end. You're doing a PhD in finance. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go this way.
That sounds fun. All right, see you later.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy, man. So, like, what do you want to do? Like, what do you want to do with that? Do you want to work in corporate finance, or are you looking more towards teaching right now?
So yeah, I was mostly looking to become a tenure track professor somewhere. And essentially I interviewed with a bunch of schools. Some of them invited me to a fly out afterwards. And right now, although I have had a couple of offers, but right now the one offer that I'm considering is from the industry. It's actually a consultancy in Midtown Manhattan, who was the only industry job that I talked to. And
Like Manhattan, New York?
yep.
What?
But I'm still waiting to hear back from one more school. I do like this consultancy offer a lot, but I don't know. Right now, I'm just kind of weighing pros and cons, and whatever will happen.
But it's a good position to be in terms of like, you're now in the choosing stage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's better to be in that stage than like, man, I'm not hearing anything. Yeah, like, I don't know. I'm waiting. You know, you're not waiting anymore. You're like, now the ball's in your court to be like, I want to do that or I want to do that.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, well, it's still sleepless nights thinking over it mostly, but it's a better situation than before when I'm applying for 100 jobs.
And only like not hearing, and you're like, am I doing something wrong with the application?
Exactly, yeah.
So,
checking your resume the 15th time.
yeah, like, what is exactly just deterring them from like looking, like, what would I do if I was looking at it's like, it seems like that's a frustrating thing. Okay, I'm also on the job hunt, and like, you know, I'm graduating in December, but like one of the most frustrating things you run into is like, why, when you don't hear anything. You know, if you're gonna reject me, that's perfectly fine. You know, but tell me. Then me sit here and just be like, you know, I'm waiting. Like, did they get it? Like, maybe they're still looking at it. So, you know, you're in that what if stage, and it's just like,
yeah, that limbo is the worst of it all.
And like,
Yeah.
it's particularly for like international people. We're on such a timeline that we're like, yeah, we know, we need to know so I can, you know, choices are gonna be made, decisions have to go in certain ways like that. But yeah, so you're in the corporate and like you're waiting on a school right now.
Yeah, so actually the school that I'm waiting on is in Canada.
Oh.
So yeah, that's like one place that I really liked. It's McMaster University. It's near Toronto, about 40 minutes from Toronto. But yeah, I'm just kind of trying to see where things fall in, and I don't even know which of these two opportunities I want. But
Yeah.
yeah.
What like that's kind of choice, like New York and and Canada, like what, like that's crazy.
It is, yeah. I mean, that's kind of the thing, right? Being on the job market, you don't really get much choice of location when you're trying to be selective in the industry that you work in, especially on the academic job market, especially. So,
I'm seeing that a lot too.
yeah.
Just like, because you can't just apply to one region of school, especially with schools, like you're saying, like it's just, there's so many different, the opportunities are so limited, like people are looking for different things. So if you just limit yourself to a region, like Missouri's not going to be looking for like a specific thing you're looking for. So it's just like, you know, so I mean, I totally get that. That's for Canada, man. That's kind of a far away. That's a drastic.
It is, actually. Hey, you know what, though? When I was there, I think it was 2 weeks ago. Yeah, when I was there, actually, it snowed here, but it didn't snow there. So
You're like, well, it's, you know, it's the same thing, really. People say it's cold. It's going to be cold in Canada, but it's freezing out here.
yeah.
But geez, that's crazy. So wait, when you fly out, do they pay for all that?
Oh, they do, and then they reimburse you, hopefully. So I'm still waiting for that.
Oh, you pay and then they. Okay.
It depends, actually. You know, so I listened to your previous episode, and Thibaut has explained job market process in finance academia a little bit, but I'll take the second stage of that process. After you interview with 1 billion people at the conference that we go to, if they like you, they invite you out to their campus. They fly you out. Hopefully they pay for the ticket and hotel up front. Sometimes they don't, and you book them yourself. And hope that you get reimbursed after. But that reimbursement takes a couple of months.
Months?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Universities are slower than hell.
Yeah,
most times.
Yeah, that's crazy. What? You can reimburse me months later?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, you have to essentially, if you have like 4 or 5 of these flyouts and you're trying to wait for reimbursement, those things really add up.
Yeah, because I'm thinking like, you can't really like book it ahead of time, because like flights, the only reason they're cheap for most people is because you book it like way ahead of time.
Right.
So if you're booking it like on a whim, like, oh, I gotta go there, you know, for a job, that's an expensive flight.
No, yeah, I mean, I had to book my Canada flight literally 3 days before I left. So it was
expensive.
Crazy expensive.
Yeah, that's insane, man.
Yeah.
And then they don't reimburse you for months.
Yeah.
That is insane. That's crazy.
Well,
man.
a couple of months in the worst case, at least a month in most case.
Still though, that's like,
Yeah.
if I'm going there, I feel like you should just give me my check or something. Like if I'm gonna be there, just hand it to me. But I don't know. Maybe there's just little things there. Like if you don't get the job, I imagine they take longer. But if they give it to you, they probably be like, "All right, here you go," kind of thing.
Interesting. I never thought of that. Now I'm a little scared.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't mean to do that, but it's one of those things that I'm like, I don't know how they think. You know, it's probably just getting caught up in paperwork and all
Yeah,
that.
it's probably just red tape.
Yeah, it is what it is in those situations. Okay, so we got to Missouri now. So let's talk a little bit about like family, like when you started, like when you were younger and stuff like that. How big is your family? Like, what's the situation like that?
So yeah, it's my parents, my mom, dad, and I have a brother who is 6 years older than me. About 6 years. He's like 5.5 years older than me. When I that's kind of it.
Yeah. So what do they do? Like, where's your brother right now? Are they all like still back home in India or like?
So they are now. My brother was in US. He was in DC. He was in Arizona and then DC. A total of about 6 years. He was in US. After that, he decided to go back. He wanted to go back and
Work at home.
yeah, kind of work in India. He still sometimes spends about 3 months a year actually in Chicago.
Oh.
So he's also a consultant, but his firm ships him out here, even though he doesn't want too much.
Oh, wow.
I mean, he likes to visit. He loves to visit, but he just doesn't want to live here as much. So.
Is it in finance too as well then? Like, is his career?
Oh, no, he's more of a data analytics guy. I don't frankly know exactly what he does. But yeah, data analytics can mean so many different things, and it can also mean finance. But he mostly works on the healthcare side of things.
Oh.
So.
Yeah, I was actually in international business, and I'm in international business right now, like in my class, and we were talking about like outsourcing of work and stuff. So it makes sense that he comes here, because I feel like a lot of U.S. companies, like because of time zones, they said is because like as a health person, like as someone in the health field, you can look at something in the morning, but you need a second reference. So when you go to bed, you send it to someone who's awake in India. You know what I mean? So they look at it all day, and then when you wake up, you have their answer.
Right.
So like it avoids those type of things. So it kind of makes sense to outsource that type of work. And
It does actually. Yeah, I mean that used to be one of my jobs when I was in India.
oh really? Oh well, there
So
you go.
yeah, kind of. It certainly has some serious economies of scale, and having the 24-hour cycle going in terms of work and good things. There is also the disconnect of things, because living in India and trying to learn about American healthcare things is probably really hard. Standards and different cultural things that people do. So this is just healthcare I'm blabbering about, but when I was working in India, it was kind of a little bit of a different culture that you have to get adjusted to, and my office would work with London, Hong Kong, and New York people, and it was like outsourced from all those three kind of big offices to Indian office. So some people would work different weird hours, but it's still like kind of a much different guidelines and much different cultural differences that you have to handle when you work for Hong Kong office versus New York office. And
Yeah, because I can only imagine, like in general, just like cultural differences between like Hong Kong and the U.S.
yeah.
are huge. Like imagine on healthcare standards now, it's like
Yeah, that'd
that's
be
crazy.
even crazier, yeah.
Just like lifestyle is different, but like healthcare, like it's always a topic of discussion here. So it's kind of changing here and there, but like in Hong Kong or wherever, it could be the same thing to where they're changing it in a different way.
Yeah.
Trying to understand all that, that's a global world we live in though. Like like the businesses have to outsource, and you have to like figure out ways to make you more efficient and things like that.
Right.
But that is crazy. So what about your parents? Like, what are they doing?
So my mom, she's retired now, but she was a high school teacher all her life. All my life at least. And before that as well, but I don't know what she exactly. I think she was teaching middle school before I was born, and then she was teaching high school as long as for last 27 years. Well, 26 years. She retired last year. But yeah, she loved doing it, and kind of kept up with the same job. And my dad, he worked for the same. So he used to work in personal banking, and he started as a clerk at this one bank, a regional bank in India, and then he literally stayed there for about 25 years and kept making his way up. And I think when he stopped working there a couple of years as well, before a couple of years, and I think he was senior manager, when he kind of left it. So yeah.
That's crazy though. Jeez, So you said they're all just like in India right now, and you're over here, and you're the one who loves it over here. And they're like, that's cool. But you are married, so that's why you're here. It's not like it's not like you're just there. So let's talk about that. Like, your wife, where's she from?
Yeah, so my wife, well, she is not necessarily American. She's more of a Texan, if you know what I mean.
Yep, I know.
It's a different country in some days, but
it really is. Like, my brother lives in Houston, so I've been down there, and you can tell, like, yeah. But
no, yeah, she's white. Well, so she was born and raised in Texas. We met actually when I was at UT. She was doing her undergrad there.
Oh,
and
awesome.
I was doing my master's, and then we moved in together in Houston, and then we got married sometime later, and then we moved to Missouri. But she is a nurse right now.
Oh,
she has actually had one of the coolest career moves in life. So when I met her, she was an undergrad, and she was finishing her degree to become a teacher. So she was a high school teacher in Houston when we moved in together.
Oh, wow.
And then she didn't really enjoy the administrative part of it. There is a lot of things that go along with just that are not necessarily teaching or not dealing with students, and there is this whole administrative thing that you have to deal with, and she hated that part. So when we moved to Missouri, actually, she started working as a corrections officer in the minimum security men's prison in Boonville.
Oh, what? I lived in Boonville. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so the giant fence and
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So yeah, she worked there for about a year and a half when we moved here.
What year was that? I might have been living.
2014 to half of 2016 until.
So that was exactly when I was living, because I lived there as soon as I graduated. Yeah, I graduated 2015 May, and then I lived there until 2016 like May.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, so she would have been working there. That's cool though.
So she did that. In her opinion, it was easier than dealing with middle city high school students.
That's interesting. Yeah, I would. That's crazy.
Yeah, she has some funny experiences. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, imagine prison. I mean, I wouldn't even want to know like what that was like. But,
no, yeah. She after that she decided to go to nursing school. Now her mom is a nurse. So she was trying to avoid going to the nursing school for the longest time, just because her mom's experiences and stories about, if you ever talk to nurses, literally, if you talk to them for 15 minutes, at least one time there will be a conversation about someone vomiting or someone, it's just bodily fluids being around. So anyway, but she went back to school. She did her RN. And now she works as a nurse at the hospital, Mizzou Hospital. So, yeah.
That I can imagine seeing that resume. Like, okay, so you were a teacher, you're a corrections officer, now you're a nurse? Like, what?
Yep.
You cover all your bases in that respect. Like, geez, that's quite interesting. And so you said, what was her name? You told me.
Megan.
Megan, okay.
And her last name is actually Curry. So, there were a lot of jokes about me finding Curry when I moved to the US.
That was that. So, like,
yeah.
That's so funny. One of the quotes is like, that's one of those funny things where you're just like, what the heck? But, okay, so one of the things I want to talk about, you said you got married, and you said now you're officially like a citizen, right?
Yeah, so yeah.
This, like, walk me through that whole, like, window and process, because I don't know anything about it.
Right.
I'm pretty sure no one really knows. So start from the beginning, like, okay, married, the paperwork kind of had to do it.
Sure. I'll actually take a step back and just go till when I was a student.
Yeah.
No, so when I was a student, after my master's, I was on OPT, or optional practical training. It's just 1 year of work visa that you get if you complete a degree, which I bet you know when you're applying for. I was on OPT. We got married. Then at the same time, literally around the same time, I had an offer from Missouri to come here and do my PhD. So I applied for my F1 work, and the first application of the green card we did about after I got my F1 visa, essentially. But the reason for that is the first application is really expensive. It's about, I want to say the total cost of everything, including shipping and everything, was about more than $2,000. So we had to kind of save money.
So you're talking about like
a green card application.
Oh, okay. So once you get married, You have to apply for that.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So you have to apply for a green card, a conditional green card actually. Let me take a step back. So yeah, that conditional green card, you get it for 2 years. Before you get it, they interview you, and the whole thing about whether your marriage is real
Legit.
or not. And we went to Kansas City. And
What was that like? I want to I don't know the experience. Like, what are they coming across with a pessimistic view, or are they kind of coming across like just like a regular interview kind of?
So in my case, it wasn't. The officer who was sitting there. He was perfectly nice and a really good gentleman. But I've heard different stories from people. I've heard stories when they are a little aggressive. I've heard stories when they are not necessarily. But it also depends on things like they have evidence in front of them of your life together, and we had everything from like having credit cards together and having joint bank accounts. And
Oh yeah, so you guys were like, wait, it was
yeah.
obvious like there's nothing going on here, like shady.
Yeah, exactly. So it wasn't half bad. Although when we went for that interview, they had forgotten that our appointment was there. So we were literally just waiting for 1.5 hours. So when you walk in there, sorry, let me back up. You take your appointment notice, you put it in this box, and then you sit and wait. And we were there for like 1.5 hours, and then we went there and asked them, so is this happening? And they were like, oh yeah, actually your interview wasn't on our calendar today, but apparently you have an appointment notice, so it must have been. So we are just trying to get an officer and kind of go through your work. And it's taking a while, but maybe that's why they were so nice to us, because
They're like,
they made a mistake.
Yeah, sorry, it's all bad. Although I was thinking in my mind like maybe they were trying to make you guys sweat, like sweat it out, like hey, just make them panic over the hour and just like
And just kind of
slip
observe.
up. Yeah, like just watch like what's going on here. Like, are they gonna slip up? Like, it's crazy. I tend to think to prepare myself for the worst. So that's why my mindset is usually there.
No,
But-
I bet they forgot. It's not the most efficient process.
Yeah, I would imagine like I wonder how often that happens. Like people are applying for those type of interviews. Like if they have appointments every day.
Yeah, they must have had at least 30-40 appointments every day, and 4 or 5 officers are trying to handle it, so I imagine
Yeah.
it's volume. But no, that interview lasted like 40 minutes actually, because he was going through the paperwork as we were talking, because he hadn't still had a chance to go through everything. Usually those interviews are like 10-15 minutes, but in our case it took him a long time because they hadn't seen anything before. I mean, the file was there, they had it, just there was
They hadn't gone through
yeah.
it yet. So it's usually 10-15 minutes?
Yeah,
Like
that's what I've heard.
Oh.
Unless they like separate you into different rooms and ask you same questions, unless they have a reason to doubt you.
So but in the interview, it's just you're both sitting next to each other. Okay.
Yep.
I'm just trying to get like a full picture of like the situation and scenario. Like, okay, that's
Yeah, no, it was kind of neat. But after that interview, we waited for a while. Not waited actually, no. After that interview, my green card was approved the same day, and it came in the mail after a month or so.
Oh, so that's how quick it is. Like they can tell you like yes or no, like right there.
Yeah, precisely. They essentially tell you whether they are recommending you for an approval or not right there. But
okay.
the time since application till the interview can be long for some people. It fortunately wasn't for us. But
How long did you say that was?
I think about 6.5, 7 months.
Oh,
So it was still long, but not
like what
long
are you doing
by
that whole
like
time?
just sitting and waiting.
So you can't work or anything?
Oh, sorry. No, yeah. When you apply, you can also apply for like another EAD, Employee Authorization and Travel Authorization card.
Okay.
So they essentially give you this like card that is valid for 1 year when you send in your application.
Okay.
Just based on that, without going through anything much.
It's kind of like an extension on like an OPT or something. Let's just say
It's literally similar to an OPT card.
Oh, okay, all right. Because I was like, man, if you expect you to wait 7 months, like not doing anything, like you can't work, like what are you supposed to do? Like you can't survive. That's crazy. Okay, then what? Okay, what was the next?
Yeah, so once I had that card is valid for 2 years, and after 2 years, you have to kind of go back again to get this permanent green residence card or
So you kind
permanent
of that's
green card.
what you're on would have been temporary, kind of like a preliminary green card.
Yeah, so basically, yeah, they kind of started doing that, I think, to eliminate all the fraud marriages and stuff. Or maybe just to make more money from the second application.
Yeah, I was thinking like, do you have to pay again? Because that's where it is non-refundable like chap fees. So, are you kind of like still? Did they like review again on the second application?
So yeah, they did, but we didn't have to do an interview, and that so I had this card for 2 years, and we sent in the renewal application closer to. You can send in the application 3 months before the deadline, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 months. And then when we sent that in, they sent me another 1 year card for work and travel authorization, similar to like an OPT card for until that application is being processed. That application actually took about 20 plus months total, and we were just sitting and waiting, so much so that my second card that they had sent me was closer to expiration.
Oh my god.
And we went to Kansas City again, and we were trying to talk to them that this card is going to expire. I don't know what to show to people when they ask me to
Like
show my
legal-
residency proof.
Yeah.
So, and they essentially literally gave us this like paper stamped another extension card, the green card, which is just like, it looked like the most easily forgeable document ever. It's essentially saying that, Megan, if we leave the country and if we are coming back, there is no way in hell that I'm not getting stopped with this stupid.
Yeah, it's just a piece of paper. Like you could have done that yourself, like in your house, to say, "All right, I'm
When they
legal."
had their stamp and stuff, but it was nothing like a green card or actual card. It was just a paper where they put my picture, made a signature, and wrote some stuff on it.
That is insane. Oh my gosh. But luckily you didn't have it came in then? Like, or did you actually have to use that paper?
No, it did actually come in after that appointment in Kansas City. It came in after a month or so. My permanent green card. I wish I could show it to you. I don't have it anymore because they take it away when you apply for citizenship.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But anyway, so until so that was the permanent green card that I got, and then once you are married for 3 years, or if you have had green card for 5 years, that includes the first 2 years of the non-permanent one as well. You can apply for citizenship. And I did that in last April, and I got it last week. So
What is that citizenship like? What do you have to do to apply for that? Like, what's the paperwork for that?
again, it's a lot of money for the
imagine.
application fees. All of these processes, it was a lot of money, and we had to wait and save money every single time.
Yeah.
Especially both of us being students, and it was a little hard. But
Paid off.
yeah, I guess.
Yeah, that was lucky.
It was similar application. Actually, they moved all that application online this time, so I didn't have to print a giant stack of documents. I just had to scan it and upload it, which was much easier.
Yeah.
And it also saved a lot of money on the shipping costs.
I would
for these
imagine so,
things.
yeah. Man, so do you have to take like the citizenship like tests and all that stuff? Like, what is that? I don't know what that's like. I'm pretty sure most people don't know what that's like. So
After I sent in my application, they sent you kind of this citizenship interview, another one, and that's just for me. Because my wife wasn't there. I mean, she was there with me, but she wasn't in the room. But that interview is essentially just going over your paperwork, talking normally, and getting to know who you are, kind of a thing. It was super friendly. And then there is the English test and a citizenship or U.S. history and civics test.
gosh, what was the English test like? Just to give us a little bit of a picture. Like,
So the English test was super simple. Essentially, you're just supposed to be able to write one sentence, and I think that guy asked me to write "When is Halloween" or something like that.
like literally just write when is Halloween on a piece of paper?
Yeah.
Oh.
Literally, and a question.
What? Oh, okay. And then that was literally it?
Yeah, something like that. I don't remember whether it was Halloween or Labor Day or some kind of holiday. He essentially asked me to write when this, and then that was it.
But it was one sentence for the English test. And that was
Yep, pretty much. And they're talking to you, so they kind of get an idea of whether you...
how far. But if you're on a PhD student, it's like, of course I can speak English, kind of. You would assume. I mean, I would hope.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
If you're planning to teach people around here.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's great. One sentence. That's interesting. I didn't expect that.
Right.
And what about the U.S. history and civics part? What was that like?
Right. So to prepare for that test, they give you this list of 100 questions essentially, and you just kind of memorize the answers for those. And there are some history questions, as in which are the three wars that have been fought by the U.S. in the 19th century or 18th century, and so on and so forth. Was the Independence Day, and so on and so forth. There is also some questions related to law, not law, well, just civics lessons, as in like how many senators are there, how big is the House, what kind of cabinets. Give examples of 3 different cabinets that are for
I don't
the
know
U.S.
that
president.
stuff. I would imagine most people don't know that stuff. Like citizens here probably couldn't answer those questions.
Yeah, no, actually, that's true for the most part, except Megan's grandfather. He was the only person who went about 47 questions, I think, or 48 questions. 48 questions without getting any of those wrong. But
What?
he's really good at this stuff. He used to be a police officer for about 20 years, and he was in the military before that, or Navy, sorry.
Oh, so okay, yeah. So he would have knowledge on those type of things.
Yeah.
So you have this pack of 100 questions, right?
Right. So at the test, they ask you, essentially, they're supposed to ask you 10 total questions, and you're supposed to get 6 of those right. And so he asked me 6, and I got 6, and then that was kind of the end of it.
So out of 100 questions, he's gonna ask you 10, and you have to get 6.
Right. Yep.
That's kind of hard because in my head initially I was thinking, okay, that's easy. But then when you think about it, you're like, you studied 100 questions, and
Yeah.
he's only asking 10, and you have to get 6. So that's like that an equation that could be like your weakest area.
No, they're actually good at that. So they ask you some questions that are from history, some questions that are from civics, and so on and so forth.
Okay, so they balance it out, kind of.
Yeah. Also, it's like, I mean, it's really not hard to prepare for. When I was thinking about it before I saw the booklet of the 100 questions, I was thinking, oh shoot, I'm going to have to remember 100 different things, and it's a little daunting. But once you look at it, it's some of the things. For example, one of the questions is, what happened at the Constitutional Convention? And the answer is, the Constitution was written. So
Okay.
they're
It's
not really
telling you the
rocket
answer?
science. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's Constitutional Convention. What happened here? Okay, so it's still like a stressful process, obviously, but it's not quite as bad as we would assume.
No.
I mean, I think case by case basis, probably.
Probably, but it's not half as bad as if you are a student and if you have an H-1B and then you're trying to go to. There is not much uncertainty in this process, unless you're not trying to commit fraud, obviously.
Yeah.
But there's not much uncertainty. There is a waiting and there's a longness of the process, but the uncertainty part is cut off at least. So.
See, I'm on the flip side of it. I would be going through the H-1B route if I'm trying to go for which is longer. And I think with that, it is like you go. So just for people who don't know, like once I graduate, I'll be like what you were talking about, like OPT for a year, and then the company has to decide if they want to sponsor you, which basically means like they pay for your work visa, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and a lot of that's why it's so hard to get a job, because businesses right now are like, I could just hire an American as opposed to hiring someone who I'm gonna have to pay even more for. So it makes that a little bit of a hurdle for hiring a job like that. So then after that, like you get 3 years on H-1B, right? I mean, I don't know how familiar you are with
It depends on which country you're from, right?
or which STEM, if it's STEM or something like that.
If you're from the STEM, as in science, technology, engineering, and medicine.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So if you get OPT is about 3 years, right, on STEM.
Yeah.
But after that, it also depends on which country you're coming from, whether you have to stay 3 or 6 or 8 years on the H-1B, because Indians have a lot of long wait. So do Chinese, but some other countries don't, because it's just kind of stupefyingly annoying, but it's essentially like they have certain amount of H-1B visas that they allocate to different countries, and that allocation is not based on the number of applicants. It's not proportional to that. So it's different for different people. So yeah, hopefully it's not long for you.
Yeah, I would hope it's, yeah. So I don't know. There's quite a few Zimbabweans over here, but I don't. It's one of those. We'll just see whatever happens. The few who have gotten H-1B haven't had that much of a hurdle. Like it's been pretty. It's been pretty easy with that. But that's why it's difficult to explain because it's not. It's honestly not that expensive on the business side of things. Like it doesn't cost them that much, but they businesses freak out in the aspect of like, oh no, I gotta pay. I think it's like what, like 3,000 maybe.
Maybe a little higher. I think it's more. I mean, if you add up the whole cost of H1B renewals, and then green card application at the end.
Well, not that. I'm not even going that far. Like there's like that. Let's say like to a business, I'm like.
Yeah, about 4,000 or 5,000 maybe.
Yeah. So, but it's for a 3-year work thing. So like it's like if you really wanted to, like over 3 years, 5,000. That's not really that crazy. So it doesn't cost as much as it seems like comes across. So that's why like I'm also applying to like schools because one, obviously I want to do it. Like it'll be working with international students as well. But like the other side of that is one, it is cheaper for like lawyer fees aren't as bad for schools and stuff like that because it's a nonprofit.
Right.
But they're also you're able to assign value to yourself a little bit better in a school situation rather than in a corporate situation. You could argue someone could be just as smart as you are,
right,
in like a business or something like that. But like in a school, you can be like, well, no one can do my job because, I'm international. I understand. The people are more willing to come to me. Kind of like.
Yeah, no, and especially for a job like that you're talking about, working with international students, that would be so much more valuable at a university, and it would be so hard to find people to do kind of. I mean, each of us know kind of like about our own culture.
Yeah.
And you kind of have an idea of like all the different ones, at
yeah,
least
a
some
little
aspects
bit.
of them.
Yeah.
So that's kind of useful.
And like I was talking to you, I don't know if we were talking while I was recording or something, but we just like saying like that relatability factor to where, like as an international person, you have a problem that's internationally based. Like even if it's like a personal problem, like I haven't seen my parents in so long, whatever. I don't want to talk about. But for you to go to, like, let's say an advisor for argument's sake, like, and this is not like knocking advisors or something. It's just like a relatability issue. But like if they're American. You don't feel like you can go across and say like, this sucks or that. Those type of conversations you have with other international people where you just kind of like rant.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah,
you kind of, but like if you can offer people that person in an official capacity,
right?
It kind of makes it more than, okay, I don't get along with that person, but I can't go talk to them. But if it's like an official capacity, like it's like it's kind of their job to listen. So like I want to be that person who just kind of like sits there and like. I know exactly what you're going through because I've literally been in your shoes, Right. So it's easier for me to offer you advice. I can give you real advice, not like, okay, so according to this book, you have to apply, and
Exactly.
So I'm like, real situation, like real talk would be to start now, do this, and the actual way to make your life easier while living here, which is hard to explain as someone who hasn't gone through it or hasn't like done it. So like if I'm I could tell you like you have to when you got here, like what were some of the things like you were told by your advisor, if anything, like aside from go to class.
Right, exactly. No, I think that's kind of it probably.
Yeah, and I mean like you have like those international meetings and stuff like that. Some schools do like those, but it's always awkward. Like I don't know what's going on. Like but if you see that extra thing, like extra layer to where you're like, okay, so that person has been there and they know what I'm going through. It's kind of like. You can be more real to that person. Like, okay, so what class do I actually need to take? Like what can I do? Like, where can I go to get this? What can I do to get that? Or like, how do I put myself in the best position to, if your aim is to stay here, like, how do I put myself in the best way to stay here? Like, you got to get out there and do internships. Like, you want a corporate capacity, like, get out there, put yourself out there. Because I wasn't told any of that. Like, I graduated with just like RA experience, and I'm like, I'm trying to get a job with that. I'm like. Who's gonna hire? Like it was difficult because you're not told. You kind of just going to school, kind of like playing the, just living the monotonous life of like going to school, being a college kid. But what you need to realize is like as an international, like you're not the same. Like your life isn't exactly the same as everyone else. You need to kind of do your story is different. You have to do your stuff in a different way. So trying to tell someone that early on so they can prepare. will put them in such a better position. And if someone, like, even if your advisor told you that, you're probably you might not take it as seriously as like someone who's like, I did this and this is what happened to me,
Right, exactly.
like, so you need to get on it now or something. Just like that extra layer. That's kind of like, I just basically like sat in an interview and I just like,
that's actually, I agree. I mean, it's kind of weird, right, to hear from someone about H-1B applications and trying to get an employer to sponsor for you who hasn't ever had to do that. And even though they might be right by the books, you're less prone to listen to that stuff unless and until it's actually some person who had to go through the same experience and is telling you based on their experience kind of an advice, which would be useful. So, yeah.
Yeah, and they could give you like how to, because it's an awkward thing to bring up, you know what I mean, like in an interview.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you, obviously now like it's on like every application.
Right.
But sometimes like the person interviewing you might not be the same, like it's an HR, but it might not be the same person who, comes and sits down with you in that stage. So, it's like, do I bring it up right off the bat? Do I like, do I wait until the second round or something like that? So, it's those little things that, if someone who's been through it tells you, then you're like, okay, so I kind of know how to handle myself. Because it's a weird thing. It's hard to...
Yeah, it is. You don't want to bring it off right in the first 2 minutes of the interview.
And get
By
discounted.
The way, do you sponsor visas for international people or not? But yeah.
And then they're like, nope. And then you're like,
yeah.
Whereas you can make a good impression or something like right off the bat in the first interview. Then they're like, oh, we really want this dude to work here. Then like, if you bring it up, down the line or something, like on the second interview, like, just so you guys know, before you hire me, like, I really want to work here, but there's going to be this in the future. At that point, they've already kind of at least thought about it and like, hey, we think he's a fit.
Right.
So it's just like those little bits of information to where, as someone had told me, like right off the bat, I could have done more. I would have tried to intern more, I would have tried to like get that extra experience, just like that little bit of advice. And, like just sometimes literally just talking about international problems helps to just sit, it helps you, like, it's late, everyone, if you have any type of problem, you just sit with someone and you talk about it.
Right.
It helps so much more. Like, you know what I'm talking about. It's
yeah. Like, why are there 20 different types of cereals in
Yeah.
it was mind-boggling to me.
Oh, really?
When I went to Walmart the first time, it was just like, what is this place?
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. What about like culture shock? Like, what happened like when you landed? Here.
Yeah, I guess that's a good lead-in.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I was just saying, like, someone having to talk to students or people who move in there, that would be useful to just in usual life scenarios, not just job applications wise. But when I moved here the first time, I knew nothing about Austin, Texas. I knew that the university was good, the program is decent, and that's kind of it.
Yeah.
I didn't know anyone there. I actually kind of lucked out because I decided to live in this student co-op kind of a place. So it was really cheap and it was next to the university. I could walk to most of my classes in 15 minutes.
Oh, so that's good.
Yeah, it was great. And it was really cheap. All my food and utilities and internet was included in my rent. But the caveat being you have to work 20 hours a week to either cook food for people or to clean up around the common areas or take out the trash and so on and so forth. But yeah, so it was kind of a 20-hour kind of a thing, and it worked out perfectly well because there was a bunch of different international students who kind of lived in there as well, especially international grad students was kind of like the majority population, yeah. And some exchange students. So that was really cool, and we lucked out because you had these people who were going through the same experience with you, and then you also had some people who have seen a billion of these people go through same experience every year who had been living there for years. So that was kind of cool. And like I was talking about Walmart, the first time I never had to go grocery shopping, first of all, because of this place. So, which was the best thing ever, because I remember going to Walmart I think I needed to buy some socks and some additional winter things because I was living in Mumbai before Austin. So some actual winter clothes. But I was just shocked at the size and the enormous nature, and I was like, literally, I can buy anything in the world here. It feels like,
And it's so cheap.
yeah,
It's so
and
cheap.
well, it didn't seem cheap because I was still converting everything into Indian rupees.
Oh, right, yeah.
But yeah, I remember going to the cereal aisle and I was just, why are there so many different types of cereals? Why do people need a Cocoa Puffs and crushed version of that? I don't understand this. Just crush it yourself. But yeah, it was kind of neat though.
I mean, it's like now. Do you look at it now and like, okay, I like these up. I like having the choices, or are you still like in the same boat of like, why do we need all this still?
No, well, I guess I have gotten used to it being present. Now I've been living here for almost 6.5 years, but it's still kind of, I'm a pretty simple guy. I eat bran
Like
flakes.
Cheerios.
That's all I eat.
Yeah.
So essentially, it's like having those 20 different kinds there doesn't really necessarily change my opinion on life. I just grab the one. It might get difficult to find the one, so I sometimes get irritated if I have to go to different grocery stores. But I mean, it's kind of good though. It's more of a consumer-oriented society, which is kind of neat.
That's good. Like it is interesting. I remember my first Walmart experience. I was also like, what the heck? Like we have like big stores, but not like. This is like a superstore. Like it's like everything. Literally, like you can get your car fixed here, get like car shop.
Yeah.
So it is kind of like a weird, like, wow. No wonder they're like such a big company. But yeah, it is. What about any other like culture shocks? India is kind of on the like British kind of like system in terms of like driving.
Yes.
And things like that. So like you were on the opposite side, right? Like
Yep.
yeah. So yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. Like was that weird at all for you? Like
Oh no, yeah, it was weird, as in I almost got hit by cars a few times crossing the road because I was looking at the wrong direction.
I've been there. It's weird, man.
And then you suddenly go from this like, oh shoot, this car was about to hit me, from being mad to being dumb feeling of like, oh no, it's my fault. I should have been actually looking at that side.
Yeah, you just walk in, the car is coming this way, and you're like, oh no, and then you get on this side and you look that way, and the car is that way. So it's just weird, like it's just opposite direction, stuff like that. Like, what else can you think of? Like, what?
Stop signs. I remember actually this was the second day in US. The first day I arrived pretty late at night. I had a 36-hour long flight, layover included. But when I arrived, I slept. I woke up early in the morning because I was basically thinking I'd just walk around the city and explore. And that was maybe not the best idea in Austin, Texas, which is kind of big actually. But I walked for few hours literally trying to just take pictures of randomest things.
Oh wow.
But the thing that I still remember is stop sign.
Why?
We don't have stop signs. I had never seen a stop sign before.
There's no stop signs in India?
No, you just
Stop on
go.
everyone just go.
Yeah, you just kind of go if there is a chance. But yeah, there are no stop signs, and there were these two cars that were at a stop sign, and then I was at the stop sign trying to cross in front of one car, and the guy who was sitting in the car kept waving his hand at me to go, and I was thinking, why is he waving his hand at me? I don't understand. Just go. I mean, you're on the road. Why can't you go? And then I actually saw the stop sign, and then I Googled it.
Oh.
What stop signs mean and how do the rules operate. Apparently, he was supposed to let me cross first.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was like a whole like light bulb in my head kind
That
of
is
situation.
hilarious. Wait, how do you not have stop signs? That doesn't make any sense. Like, how does everyone just go? Like, you just kind of like, okay, if you look and you see someone, you just don't go. You're like, what is this?
No, you just if you're the person walking, and if you see a car, you kind of let the car go because you don't want to die.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have lights. I mean, that's kind of universal everywhere.
But still, though, man, it's like no stop sign. That's crazy. I say that, and I don't even remember if they were stop signs. They were. I'm pretty sure they were. It's been a long time. It's been like 7 years for me. I've been here for 7 years, so I'm just like, I don't really remember. But I'm pretty certain they were stop signs. I'm almost 100%. There's no way they weren't stop signs. It seems ridiculous now. Like now looking back, I'm like, they had to have been stop signs. I don't know. I think so. but that is weird. That is blowing my mind. I did not expect that at all. That's crazy. So I had like another question. I want to talk about a little bit about like religion. How does that? What does it look like in India? Like what is that like coming here? Like how does that transition? Like
Right. So going to my family, I was raised as Hindu, but I never retained religion after I went to college, and I just kind of never was religious. I just went to temple because my mom and dad would force me to, or for like the sweets that you get there. So,
we got the best candy, man.
yeah, actually, I have like in Indian temples on certain days they would have like really nice sweets. At least of the temples that we would go to, and that was like, yeah, sure, I'm going. I'm all for praying today. But it's just like a child mentality. But yeah, no, other than that, though, India is kind of a weird, especially Mumbai or Delhi, big cities. Majority population is Hindu, but there's a big Muslim population presence there as well. So I know that basically since 1990 to 2011 or 2012 when I was in India, those all years, I have seen my fair share of riots.
Between those two?
Yeah, between those two groups. And most of them would be politically motivated. I'm not trying to try to get into a ton of Indian politics.
No,
but,
yeah.
but other than that, although it was also a cool experience and culture because the foods on both sides are really attractive. I know like Indian food and Pakistani food kind of just, and I'm just saying Pakistani food because that's kind of like majority of Indian, South Asian Muslim food that you can have in US. But people kind of just put all the foods in there in one bucket. But there's a whole new variety of differences. The use of meats, the curing of meats, the amount of time you cook it, the way you cook it, the different sorts of spices that are in different foods. So when I was growing up, I had friends I had Hindu, Muslim, and Christian friends. So I kind of got to experience all sorts of different food levels. So that was pretty cool.
So do you find like the conflict? Do you find things like that are mainly in the older generations, but like in the younger generations, it's not really like
that's true to a
like,
certain extent. But India now has again, not trying to get into too much politics here, but India also has like a populist kind of a prime minister these days. Okay. So that it's kind of like gotten that like that everywhere in the world where hates are kind of rising up in most parts.
It's weird.
But it's still what you said is kind of true. The younger generation is much more kind of
open. Like you do you like at the end of the day like
exactly.
I'll do what I'm doing.
With the globalization and as you get more exposure to the other culture and normal people on both sides, it's just kind of like, oh sure, I mean they're just people on either sides and
our differences are they make us like if everyone was the same, how boring would how boring would everything be? Like we have to acknowledge our differences and just be like, all right, you can do that, but I can do this, and we can still coexist.
Right, exactly.
Like it doesn't. We don't need to like bash each other about it and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, I was actually just talking to my cousin as well, like, and from international business. I just had this teacher who's my teacher better freaking listen to this and give me like an A, but referencing his class like a million times. But we were talking about the Brexit stuff. Like I'm pretty sure you kind of like heard about that, but. What they were saying was a lot of the issue was people didn't know what it meant to like leave. So when people were voting, they were just like, yeah, screw this. Like they have their visions about like immigration or something like that, but they don't understand what it means to get removed from the EU.
Yeah.
So like the long-term repercussions of it.
Right.
So like what they were saying, what I thought was interesting was like they were saying the younger generation was more educated. Wouldn't say like fully educated, but they understood a little bit more like what it meant to get out. Plus they were also like we don't care like about immigration and things like that, but most of like the generation that voted for to get out of that was like the older generation because they weren't as educated because they didn't understand like what this is going to mean for them like in the long run and stuff like that. But it's interesting that how much age is influencing the viewpoints.
I mean, one of the things age does is if you are halfway technologically savvy, you have multiple different sources of information that you can easily get for free. My parents don't know how to operate a computer. So their information set is going to be either TV channels that they watch, which is like 3 channels
Yeah.
in total, or newspapers that they get in the mornings.
Yeah.
So you get your sources of information are coming from much narrower set, and if there are bias, and if those biases are common across all 3 or 4 of those sources, and that just kind of exacerbates kind of every single bias, and the error goes huge on one side. So,
and there's always bias, like regardless of which side you're approaching the situation from. Like there's going to be bias on whatever topic it is. Like it doesn't matter, but it is better to be informed. Like it's better to just look at both sides and then like pick a middle. Because like the problem I think is like people look at one side and they're like, okay, I just look at that, but then they don't look at the other. So yeah, it just messes you up in general. It's a weird time in the world, man. Like it
is.
And I think another point on that is as this generation, the next generation, we are. And I say next generation, I'm probably talking maybe 90s kids onward, like early 90s kids onward. Because it'll be even more different from like 2000s kids. We'll be the ones that are looking at like weird people. But I think because we're growing up in this global world, like we're more like used to seeing different people, like accepting different things. We just look around and we're like, okay, like you can do that. It doesn't really have to affect me. Like the way I don't have to view you in a different way because, I'm not like triggered by seeing someone who's different from me. Like I'm like, oh, he doesn't look like me. Like that doesn't trigger me. I'm just like, okay, it doesn't register anything for me in my brain because we've grown up in this global world where we just see like different people on a daily basis. It doesn't really trigger. But like I feel like in the older generation when technology wasn't there, you lived in your country. Like it was so expensive to travel. Then all you saw was like just your people. Like So I think I don't know. In my opinion, I think that played a part. I'm not saying like this is the word that you have to believe, but
no,
I feel
that
like
did. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's one of those weird things, but that is interesting to know that, like, jeez. But the stop sign thing is just so like that's chaos, dude. I can just see chaos. Everyone's just driving, walking. But what about like? Were there any like particular? We're getting towards the end here, but like, were there any like holidays that you particularly liked? Like, I know you mentioned going to the temple, like getting the sweets and stuff, but like.
Sure, yeah. So Indian, right? Not American.
Yeah, I mean you can do both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so no, Indian was Diwali is one of my favorite holidays. So it's kind of like Diwali, Diwali.
Oh, okay, yeah. I think I've heard of that before.
So it's just like it's essentially supposed to be a festival of lights, but what that meant to me as a child was a bunch of different foods and visiting a bunch of different people and just kind of stopping by everyone's house, and also a bunch of firecrackers and also the Diwali break holiday part of it. So I really loved Diwali. It was arguably the best. The other holiday that I really, really like, I guess I'm talking about food a little too much on this, but whatever.
No, I'm kind of getting hungry, but,
around
good,
Eid time, actually.
Eid?
So like at the end of the Ramadan, when there is the Eid, when they all break fasts, it's I would go to the Muslim parts of town or my friends' houses and eat like a crazy person then as well. So yeah, essentially my favorite holidays in US are Thanksgiving and
so all the food ones.
Right. But that's the good thing about US holidays. All the holidays are just mostly about food.
Yeah, it's like, hey man, we're gonna eat.
Perfect. No, I also love Halloween though.
Yeah, Halloween's fun. No, I like to dress up whenever I can. It's always a fun time to just be like, you can just literally be like, dress up as someone your favorite. Now it's all superheroes and stuff, so people are doing all that. But what was I gonna say? I had a question to ask you. It slipped my mind. But yeah, so you said US is just like more food oriented and.
Arguably, US holidays are probably a little more food oriented, and I'm all for that.
No, yeah. Oh, I remember what I was gonna say. So, are there like any Indian restaurants here
in Colombia?
I think there's one.
So there are 3 total. Mm-hmm. I would only recommend one place
for authentic, like for a good, like what you say is authentic.
For a decent, authentic-ish kind of food, but it depends on what you get there. So there are 3 restaurants. One is Taj Mahal, which is on Walnut and 6th, I think, or 7th, maybe. Then there's second, which is India House, which is on Broadway and Hit.
That's the one I know. I've seen that one.
And I have if I have to rank both of them, I would rank Taj Mahal to be slightly better than India House. I hated India House's experience that I had a couple of
Really?
times. It's just the food is kind of very, very Americanized.
Oh,
for
okay.
my-
So it would be like maybe like a Taco Bell to a Mexican or something like that.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
it's not
putting
really
it
Mexican food.
mildly. But no, yeah. The third one, my favorite one, which I usually go to, it's not a restaurant. It's mostly like a takeout place. It's actually at the bottom of a motel. It's on the ground floor of a motel, and those guys who actually operate that place also own the motel. So it's pretty close to here. It's called Curry to Go, or Curry's Restaurant. They keep going back and forth between two names. But it's essentially like a hole in the wall place. You order on the phone, you go there, pick up your food, and bring it home. Or you can
Where is that?
order delivery. So that place is it's Eastwood Motel, so it's pretty close to here, I guess. It's if you take Paris all the way until it kind of reaches that weird intersection of 70 alongside when Paris is. Sorry, I'm not good at describing
No, you're good. I'm terrible at
directions.
as well. I'm terrible.
But that place has really great food.
Nice. So is it? So my experience with like Indian food was when I was in high school, and like it was way too spicy for me. Like, I can't do well with spices. So when you're saying good food, are you meaning like it's spicy in general?
Yes and no. So my wife, she can't tolerate much spices. So whenever we get something from there, so it's kind of weird. My wife's favorite Indian dish is butter chicken, and so is mine. But we
nice.
ordered 2 butter chickens from the same place, one mild and one hot. So they do vary on the levels of spices there. I love the spicier the better for me, usually, kind of a person.
I can't handle it, man. Like I don't understand. Like my mouth's on fire. Like I can't. Like when you say you like spices, is your mouth also like burning, or do you just like, do you not register that it's like burning?
No, I mean, it's kind of like my wife keeps saying this, that you have burnt all the taste buds in your mouth.
That's what I'm thinking, because I'm like, that's the way I'm feeling. Because how do you like it? Because I'm the feeling I'm feeling. I'm like, how do you like what you like? What I'm feeling? So I just don't get the spice thing, man. I don't know. That's weird to me. Okay, so we're close to wrapping up here. I just want to give you like, what do you have anyone you want to maybe give a shout out to? So like thanks to people who helped you get to like where you are now. You kind of just like a quick shout out to just say thank you or whatever.
Sure, yeah, no, few people. Well, my wife first and foremost.
Yeah, you better get that one out of the way.
Seen through all of this, and she has been through with me since I came here almost. So that's it. Her family as well. They have been really nice in accommodating me in there.
That's
so
awesome,
her mom Sherry, her grandfather Bob, and her grandmother who passed away a few months ago, Juanita, and they're all really nice people. So
That's
kind
awesome,
of
dude.
always made me feel home.
That's always like one of the things I think people are a little bit nervous about, like integrating into different families and from different cultures. It's a weird thing, man. Like, but
Yeah.
that's great that they accepted you.
No, yeah, I was kind of worried when she took me the first time on the countryside, Texas.
It's yeah.
Super nice and very friendly people.
Now that I've seen Get Out, like in my mind, I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get there, like I'm gonna get my mind put into some of
Yeah.
But that's true. Okay, sorry to cut you off. Go ahead, continue. Who else?
No, that's kind of it. I'm
That's cool
kind
though,
of
man.
Grateful and thankful to them for making life easier.
Yeah, man, that's amazing. Like those things should not be taken for granted at all. Like it takes a lot, like to accept, accepting someone into your family. Like that's a huge. It's into like a squad of friends. Like whenever someone else shows up, you're just like. But it's different. Like imagine with a family. Like that's huge that they did that, man. Like so, yeah, that's kudos to them and. I'm happy for you and your family. Congrats on the citizenship and everything, dude. Like, you're set, man. You hope whichever one you want, Canada or New York works out. That's good. I mean, either way, New York was also fantastic. I'm pretty sure they're going to pay you really well, but with the PhD. But yeah, we're just going to wrap this one up, guys. Thanks for everyone who's listening. If you have any suggestions of people you think would be interested to be on the show, I'm trying to do this as long as I can. And help your boy out to find a job. If you know anyone who's out, I'm just gonna throw that out there. I'm gonna plug myself, but yeah, thanks for listening, and I hope you guys have a great day.